Hey traders, this is Taylor with Topic Trading. I'm gonna do a bar by bar today for you guys. So you can see we're right around 8 a.m., which is when I would come in at the earliest. And we go ahead and mark up what we have. So we've got uptrend with a break and new high, and some small downtrend, break a new low. Kind of rangy looking, and then we've got the strong push up here, kind of indeterminate in this area. So looks more just like a range. So, all right, this is how I'd mark it up. We're making new highs through the overnight. So even though it looks rangy, we are consistently pushing higher, making higher lows over and over. So, and then let's see. So we get a lower high here, really far from the EMA, but this uptrend seems to be in place. So, if you took that, I think it's too aggressive. Looks like it would have worked back to the EMA. So we got a micro trend working. We get a second entry long off the EMA, and this is 2 minutes until the 8:30 news, so I would not take this. Plus, we've got this micro trend intact. We've got 4 bearish bars in a row, so several reasons not to take this. So yeah, and there you go. You can see this huge news item, 49 tick bar. So I'd wait this out here until it starts to calm down. And this is 10 minutes after. Looks like it's the size of each bar is getting back to reasonable. So you've got this uptrend working. And this is pretty strong, but let's see if we can break these previous highs. And we reject right at the highs. Get a first entry long, but right into the highs again. But no setup. Now this uptrend seems to have played out. Got 2 legs to a new high now. But notice the strength in this. We've got 3 strong bullish bars twice here. And now the EMA holding for our first entry. Let's see if there's follow through. There is follow through. So now we can start to think about maybe if I can channel like this, or potentially something along these lines. Looks like it may overshoot though. And I would say that's close enough to keep this. We get a first entry here. It ticks 1 above there. And now we get a second entry right at the open. It is a little bit congested, but this seems to fit decently. It's not a perfect setup, but the bar and setup bar are great. EMA is still holding, so do this a little bit too. I think you can take this trade. There's a little congestion there though. Top market as aggressive, but for the risk, 9 ticks, probably gonna re-reach this high, or test it at least. It does, it takes off really strongly. The spike and channel seems to still be holding. Got a first entry, drop below the EMA. We got 4 strong bearish bars. And at this point, you probably would have seen this already. It looks like it kind of just worked its way higher than that. So it wouldn't really have helped you, but that does seem to be intact, and we got an overshoot from it. So this is pretty much a double top here. Actually, it is a double top. So this is just a first entry, and also we got 4 strong bearish bars closing under the EMA. So I don't think this is a setup to take. Now we get a second entry long, but again, 3 strong bears. And this is starting to look V-shaped. We overshot the bigger channel. The spiking channel potentially could retest, but I still think this is a little too aggressive to mark right here. Looks like it would have worked. Yeah, we get the break and new high, 2 legs of correction, move to a new high, and then we sell off to the EMA. 2 strong bearish bars. There is some support here. It looks like a little range. And we drop below the EMA, reject off of it. Like maybe break a new low, 2 legs down now. Let's extend this just in case. We actually do bounce off of it. We got a first entry short. We got a second entry short, but right into the low. Way too far from the EMA. Notice how this bounced right at the key entry point, though. That could trap some longs. Not saying it's a setup, but potentially could trap. So I draw the channel like this now. And we get the break and new low from it. And at this point, it's starting to look more like a range. We've retraced a significant portion of this, so let's draw the range. This is a really strong move now in and of itself. So let's draw this micro trend. Fairly strong move back to the EMA. Reject hard off of it. Maybe we've got a bigger channel here. Well, that looks like even if we do, there's a break from it. So I guess you could draw this. It looks like there's an overshoot and a break now. I don't think it'll help us. We're really looking for a retest on this channel now, just due to the strength of it and the EMA holding. Oops. Get a second entry short, but just like the one before right here, right into the lows, bar's bad, far from the EMA, so no setup. Get the new low now. And really meant to draw these a little bit higher. This is really where the support is, this area right here. Get a higher low, but just into the EMA, huge bar. EMA was still holding, so we're not really looking long yet. Congestion. See this congestion area here. We get 2 legs of correction here. Fairly strong micro uptrend. Gets the break and new high. Sells back off. Usually after downtrends like this, you'll transition to a range. You won't simply reverse unless there's some bigger context at play. Get a lower high, but finishes way too low. Definitely a micro trend here. Second entry long at the support, but this micro trend's in play, and we still do have this downward bias. Great congestion. Still congestion. Now we get a significant micro uptrend. Let's see if we can establish a bias. We get a break and new high. See if this makes sense to extend. May actually be a spike in channel. That actually looks better. Spike up, moves into this channel. We get the break and new high from it. Congestion far from the EMA. Another leg up. Oops. Sorry about that. Now the uptrend has played out, and it looks like we are potentially establishing a bias, but we'll have to see if a bigger channel forms. But now this is a little late to draw this one. Micro downtrend. Get a first entry long with a lower high here, but this is the first push below the EMA after a fairly significant push up, so I wouldn't take this. Now you get a second entry long if this breaks above. Still wouldn't take this. I think this is more of an indeterminate area. We got this strong micro downtrend. We had this larger move up here, so let's just wait and see. It is also a triple test, so I see why some people may like this, but it's an inside bar too, so I don't think you can take the long. Looks like it would have worked for a good amount. So now we got the break and just 2 legs floating up. Strong micro downtrend now, going the other way. Keep in mind, we're just in the middle of this range here, so it's really hard to kind of establish a bias unless the EMA continually holds in one direction and we form a larger trend. And this is a fairly strong push down here, so, but unfortunately we get the break and new low already. We get a first entry short, second entry short, but straight congestion. And now we get like a third entry short, but it is a triple test. Fortunately, it closes way too low. It is really bearish. If you're going for like a small scalp, you may try this on limit. I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to mark it. You don't have quite enough room there, in my opinion. And it looks like this downtrend may have already played out, so I'm not going to mark that. It is off the larger midline, but that's not quite enough for me. It kind of struggled to go lower for a second at that support, and then eventually it does drop, so it would have worked, but hard to know that at the time. Now we get that second leg down. And really it looks like this may have started at the, oh, come on. May have started at the lower high. Here we go, looks better. And we get a break from that, congestion, and a new low. Drop down below the day's range here. Get a first entry short, right back into the lows. We get a higher low here. All the downtrends have played out. Of course, I guess you need to check for a larger one here. And that actually fits, so I wouldn't be taking a... At this point, you would have this because we got 2 touches off the highs, off the trend line, and we got almost 3 touches off the channel line. So it looks like maybe we're going to continue downward. EMA is pointing down, so and this is an inside bar, so I wouldn't take a higher low to gamble that we're coming back into the range. And we get a second entry short. Really, this is like a double bottom, so it's more like a first entry short. All that aside, we have 3 strong bullish bars here. And this little, I mean, look at this move compared to this little 8-tick bearish bar. So I don't think you want to take this short here. Plus, we're near those overnight lows and the 4 o'clock close. A lot of these places like this can just create a little bit, even if it's temporary, some support or resistance depending on which way you're coming towards it. And it looks like it would have been a 1-tick trap, so that's good that we avoided it. And this looks more like the true second entry here, but it's above the EMA. And if you just barely widen this, this is potentially still an uptrend, so I wouldn't risk this either. Looks like, depending on the size of your target, you may have scalped out. Now we get a lower high, but this just screams trap to me because we're right back at those lows. You may have drawn them right here, either one, either of these 2 spots. Right into that. This micro uptrend may need a retest. So a lot of times these bigger trends within range days don't end up retesting, so you got to be cognizant of that. I wouldn't take this either, this lower high. And you get the second entry long right here. This may retest this high, but there's some congestion there, and it's below the EMA. And we didn't take lower. Looks like you probably would have scalped for a decent target. And we get a higher low here, but the bar's not that great. Kind of already retested. Still somewhat of a indeterminate area. Didn't trigger. Then we get the higher low here. Now it's congestion. I don't think you want to take an engulfing bar out of congestion. And then by the time it closes, it's ginormous. So let's set up there once again. We break higher here. Maybe a micro uptrend here. Looks like a break a new high. Now we get that move up, 2-legged correction, and then now looks like 2 legs to a new high. Get a higher low here, but out in space, and all the uptrends have played out. Pretty strong micro downtrend here. See what happens at the support area. We bounce once again at the support, but this micro downtrend's in place, so once again, no setup. Get an inside bar anyway. It triggers. EMA rejects it. Stops you out if you entered. Now you get like this little triple test. Way away from the EMA, and all the downtrends have played out. And you can see this is actually, if I just extend this, at yet another one of the support levels from late yesterday. But still, bar's not great. This move down was pretty strong. This was a really good bar. Then maybe you take a chance on it, but because it is pretty far from the EMA, but the bar is just not quite good enough to risk that in my opinion. And yep, it snaps back to the EMA. Now we get a higher low, but the setup bar is bad. It does bounce at this support level. Bar ends up huge by the close of it, so I don't think you can take that. It would have worked. Get a break of it right around these highs, a little bit below it. We get a first entry. Let's see if we get a second entry. We don't. We get a new high. Now we get a second entry, but notice that this has already had a break and new high. And we're really still in this kind of V-shaped movement. These two bars are pretty strong, so I don't think you want to take that either. It would have worked, but that's all right. This is a somewhat strong move in and of itself. And let's check, maybe we get a larger trend here. That doesn't look great, but let's see if we can move up to the highs of it and it start to look a little more legitimate. So now we get a break a new high from that trend. We get a first entry long. Congestion here, bar's not great. This looks like it's invalid at this point because we weren't able to reach the highs of it. So no trade there. I'm going to delete this. Pushing strongly though. Get a break from that. First entry, new high once again. Seems like the story of today. We're still pushing higher, and notice now the EMA has held these last two major swings. But maybe there's like a spike in channel. It looks decent, but it overshot. Let's just see if the EMA holds again. Nothing looks too clear to the upside, but there's clearly a bias entering here. We get a first entry. Now maybe I notice the highs look fairly decent. Doesn't quite reach it. Let's see if we can kind of just slightly finagle it, which I don't always recommend, but sometimes you can still get the right trend from it. Okay, here we go, and you got your second touch here. You got the two touches on top. Let's see now. We've got this strong move down, break, new low, EMA holds. Get a first entry long. We're right at this midline as well. Okay, now we get a second entry. It is a little bit sideways here. You get two ticks of bearishness, but it's right at this key entry point that we just found. It's like you can see on this little micro scale, it's like a little triple test. You get a good setup bar, okay signal bar, two ticks, you know. But bouncing at the bigger midline too, I like this trade. It's aggressive because of the signal bar and the congestion, but I'm marking it. Triggers. You get a higher low now. It looks really congested. I wouldn't enter the higher low due to the congestion. And even more congestion. Now you get a failed second entry short that doesn't end nicely, but honestly, on engulfing, it is so sideways I still wouldn't recommend it, but if someone took that engulfing, I couldn't blame it too much. There we go. It works higher. Get a higher low, but really far away. Slightly widen again. There you go. You would have gotten, let's see if you would have gotten just enough for a 4-point scalp and not much more. Now we sell off. First break of this channel. Probably going to retest the highs of it. This is pretty strong. We're coming off the lows of the bigger range. Get a strong move up here. Higher low. Bar's not that great, unfortunately, and this is now V-shaped. You get an inside bar for the actual higher low that triggers. No setup. Clearly there's some resistance right here. Get another strong move down here. Kind of working sideways. We do get a double bottom, so maybe this is a little bit of range here. That looks pretty good because the midline's holding as well. See there? Did come up short here, so but we're still expecting a retest on this uptrend potentially. The double bottom here, can't take it unfortunately because of the 4 bearish bars, but bounce fairly strongly. Get a higher low, but right into the EMA and to the midline, so you see it would have been a 1-tick failure. The lower high I wouldn't take because we're still in the lower half of this range, still expecting a retest of the highs. I know you could potentially expect a retest of this, but this just looks like more range behavior. And you can see it would have trapped you as well. It looks like maybe we're headed up to retest now. Got an uptrend here. Overshoot that. Break out of the highs. No setups. Just floating way above the EMA after this overshoot. And at this point, maybe. Yes. That looks great. Still holding. First break of it now. We do have the new high, but this is a pretty strong move in and of itself. So let's see if we can get a second entry and the EMA holds. We get 3 bearish bars and then a doji and then a bearish bar, but it looks like it has potentially played out. Well, actually looks pretty like one leg now, so let's redraw that. Still no trigger. Bouncing right at this general support area. First entry, triggers. Now I'm expecting a retest on this. A lot of the times these will get a break. You can see here, move up, break in 2 legs of correction, and now we can get 2 legs to a new high potentially. So strong move up here. You notice this corrected about maybe a little less than 50%. Yeah, right around 50%. Drops harshly back into the EMA, and now we get a higher low with a great bar. This is a Top Gun looking setup. This little micro trend needs a retest. We are near the highs of it, and then also this needs a retest. So you can hopefully expect 2 legs out of this. So I like this trade. You have to be careful because now this is essentially played out. Once we reach the high of this, this is played out, and once we reach the high of this micro trend, it has played out. But it's good probably for a scalp, and you can see it is. And you would not want to go past this high, in my opinion, since that's the point at which all the trends have played out. So target for this is around 3.5 at the most, and that's still a little risky, maybe a little less than that. You can see we've gone 4. Correct strongly back, pushes through the EMA, and now the reason also you want to get out before that high is because you can kind of see now this looks V-shaped as well. And we did sell off at that high. We didn't quite reach the measured move, and that would have stopped you out if you went for more than 4. Let's see. And actually, it would have been a 4-point failure. So you need to get out before that high. Now we're just V-shapes. Higher low, but right into the highs. And like I mentioned, everything potentially is played out now. So we need to reestablish the bias since we're just kind of ranging. We do break out of the highs here. We get a first entry long, second entry long, but right into the highs again. We're just kind of floating. This looks like maybe a spike in channel structure. And yeah, that actually looks pretty decent. Drop strongly. And it looks like we break that. Yeah, like big 2-legged second entry, but we got 3 bearish bars here, and then the signal bars didn't even tick below, so no setup. Now we're at the overnight highs. Got a higher low, but right into it, but no way. Run into those overnight highs and really far from the MA and right into congestion. Would have worked for a small scalp at least. Okay, now it comes back to the MA. Get a first entry, and this looks like it's maybe holding. Maybe you can widen just a little bit more. It's fudging it a little bit, but still looks like maybe it's intact. Get a first entry. Oh, and I just noticed it's shaded, so it's after 3:30, so no more trades. So yeah, let's see how it ended. Like it pretty much kept holding. You know, overshot it, and then closed for the day. So yeah, decent trading day, and still not many setups. There was a couple iffy ones that we didn't mark. Just not going to mark the more aggressive ones. I want the more sure things. This one's still a little aggressive, but I really like this trade. Second entry long, higher low, and then this trade right at the open is pretty decent too. A little congestion on that one. But yeah, 3 trades that I marked total. So you can see overall picture here. Just go back. The whole thing. Just a range day. Didn't even really break out too far to either side. So, but luckily we got some clear little micro trends in here to play, and the EMA would hold at the critical areas. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and y'all have a good one. Thanks.